In the case of E.T., we worked together in the same spot, which was Culver City Studios in Hollywood. And my cutting room was above the stages, the sound stages, where most of the film was shot. And because we were dealing with a puppet and also with characters who were wearing the puppet suit, we knew that as long as we could make the puppet believable as a creature, the film would be successful. So we spent a great deal of time on dealing with how should E.T. be. You have to realize that all the facial movements were moved by 12 different people operating pneumatic tubes with a great deal of sound. It was very chaotic every time we would use the puppet head. And there was a mime artist who had to coordinate her actions with the action of the head moving and the hands coordinating with the eyes and so forth. So that was our main creation in the editing, was to create the creature of E.T. itself so that it would be believable. So that's what we spent most of our time on.
E.T., 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 be good.
Oh, there were a lot of sequences in E.T. that were very satisfying because the movie, in my view, is emotionally satisfying in many, many ways. And when you're able to work on a project that has an emotional life as rich as that, there are a lot of scenes that are very, very rewarding for an editor. The first time that Henry Thomas, who is Elliot, walks around in the cornfield trying to find this creature, he hears him but he can't see him. He draws his flashlight on the creature and gets frightened, and there are a series of quick cuts. That was very interesting because we had a number of shots. If we had used one as a single shot, it wouldn't have had the same impact. But because each of the shots were slightly different, with different focal lengths, we were able to do a series of quick cuts to show the disturbance or the surprise for the character of Elliot. There's another little scene that I feel is particularly interesting because it's the first time that E.T. is in Elliot's house, and Elliot wants to introduce him to his toys in his room. And you go through introduction of all the little Star Wars characters and the Jaws characters. So it's referential to Stephen's films, but also those toys have entered into the culture of little kids at that time. And it's just a lovely sequence of, we would kiddingly call it, the getting to know you scene. Then at the very end, when E.T. essentially puts Elliot to sleep, you begin to realize that E.T. has this telepathic power that is going to be used and elaborated through the rest of the film. That's the first time we actually see that. So that little scene has a lot of emotional information that will be referred to later on in other scenes in the movie. It's a very crucial little scene. Well, Stephen, I think, was born to direct, so he knows everybody's skill set as well as we do. He knows about cinematography, he knows about editing, he knows about sound, he knows about literally every aspect of filmmaking as well as the person who is doing it. So you're working with a consummate professional when you work with someone like that. And there are a lot of directors who do not have that level of deep talent in directing. It was as though I went to a graduate school. It was fairly early on in my career that I worked with Stephen. It was an extraordinary education for me to have worked with him on that film, which was, people thought it was going to be his little film. The budget was not that great. He saw it as a highly autobiographical film for him. It's a film about kids who grew up in a broken home.
I'm ready to play now, you guys!
We're in the middle, Elliot.
Grow up. Think how other people feel for a change.
Why don't you go as a goblin?
Shut up.
It mirrored in many degrees Stephen's upbringing. It was a very personal statement, but of course it has another layer of fantasy and sci-fi, if you will. So it was really interesting to see how Stephen would navigate all of those layers of meaning in every scene.